So welcome to this episode of 4&Co Coworking Spaces podcast. We're going to do a little Q&A today. Some questions that have been thrown our way to answer and see what behind the scenes, behind the curtain type of questions.
Yeah. So one of the questions that we got was, what is one of the things, or what are some things that we've learned in the first year of our operations at our new location?
That a
Which
lot
is
of things go wrong from construction that you have to deal with in the first year.
Oh,
That's what I would
yes.
answer.
Yes, the woes of a new construction build are endless and unpredictable.
From
Everything,
roof leaks that you
yeah.
would never expect in a brand new building would have roof leaks. And your contractor, when you say, oh, and you joke about it before it's done, like, well, there's only 2 roof leaks? That's nothing. And you're like, what do you mean only 2 roof leaks? There shouldn't be any roof leaks.
That, I would say, just general, like a pipe bursting because the building settled and a nail got punctured into it.
That was a fun one.
That and it coming out of drywall and not knowing where the hole is, where it's coming from.
You think you are
Um,
having, in all seriousness, our contractor in building, they thought we were on an Indian burial ground. And we laughed and thought, why? Well, we've never seen a build go like this. There's been quite a few challenges along the way. We've overcome them, but there's been a few challenges. Now, having completed the first year, I think he might be right.
yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not that we've been cursed, but I mean, just recently, I mean, dealing with a lightning strike and
Oh yeah.
having,
So let's see. We've had the elevator went out. We lost a compressor on the AC on one wing. We had the solar system went out. We lost a power surge protector in the electric room. What else?
um,
I'm missing something.
I think our security cameras went out.
Yeah, part of our security cameras
Yeah,
went out.
part of them. Um,
Yeah, and that
yeah,
was all in 1 week of time. So the fun things you learn about elevators is we don't have boards that just one to get replaced. No, there's 6 of them currently apparently that have been replaced, and they come one day at a time. They don't do all at once. So that's been interesting.
and another thing I would say that we learned is that being in the suburbs, a co-working space being in the suburbs and having a full year in operation, we very much mimic the school year and our ebbs
Mm-hmm.
and flows, our busy seasons, our slow seasons, and stuff like that. It very much an ebb and flow of people's personal lives and how personal lives tend to go, and but it also very much follows the corporate world of Q1, Q2, Q3,
Very
Q4,
much so. Yeah.
um, and the different quarters and different aspects. Where
Mm-hmm.
October tends to be kind of our busy month for office space, as well as August and January, because August is because that's when kids are back in school, have more free time to think about themselves and maybe change their habits and schedules. August, just because it's towards the end of the year for budgets and want to make sure whatever is needed for next year is taken care of
Mm-hmm.
in October. January, because we also fall into the category of the new year, new me type
Right.
mentality
Right.
of people starting new businesses, people deciding new office space, just using January 1st as a general marker for updates and change and whatnot.
Very
Um,
much so.
it's been interesting to watch that fold out, play out, and the way it's kind of been.
100%. I never thought we'd go through so much coffee.
And toilet paper. Oh my God, the amount of toilet paper we go through is insane. With having bidets, you would think we'd have less toilet paper.
True. I think people just enjoy spending time in the bathroom.
Or they're just white. There's been too many people that get sprayed with the bidet in their face and they have to use the toilet paper to wipe it off. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's especially when the bidets have dryers on them. That's the other thing that just baffles me.
I never thought we'd have so many comments about the bidets.
Yes, that too. And the fact that they're heated.
Right.
It's
The surprising happiness that comes out of people from it.
it's very interesting, to say the least. I mean, what's been another thing for you in the first year?
Um, I mean, I knew we built something that was going to be definitely liked, but I don't think I appreciated just how much people come in and go, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. And that has really bowled me over in this year is seeing just the immense amount of response. And I think the other thing is that having people walk into the building thinking they're in the wrong place.
Yeah, it's a quite a common theme of people trying to come for get their hair cut, and they're terrified that they're in the wrong place, but they also have the certainty of they think they know they're in the right place, but it's just not what
Exactly.
they're used to.
Like, is there a tattoo artist here? It's like, yep, sure is. Is there a hairstylist? Yep, sure is. Is there a massage therapist? Yep, sure is. Is there an insurance company? Yep, sure is. So every time they ask, yeah, we have someone represented in that industry in this building. You're right. You're probably in the right place. That's kind of a joke. It's become the standard answer between Jody and Danielle in the front is saying, yeah, you're in the right place. Who are you trying to come see?
Yeah, and but it's also I would say the other thing that's been very surprising is the amount of people that have also said how much this has been needed in this area,
Yes,
and the 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 gratitude that we've received from the community
definitely.
and the people in this area has just been something I never really expected. It, and it just it takes me back a little bit because it's extremely surprising how much people needed something like this. This isn't just, oh,
Hmm.
this is a cool idea and like we're really happy. It's like people are clinging on to it for dear
Right.
life.
And you'll say, okay, thank you so much. And like, no, no, you really don't understand this. And they go on to elaborate about why this is important to them and why it means so much to them. And it's like, wow, it really touches you because you don't expect just for the amount of people, the sincerity of and the feeling that's coming out of them for why they're here and what this means and how it's important in their life. So yeah, definitely. Those are all things surprised about the first year being in business here. So one of the questions we got was regarding the number of types of businesses here and how do we deal with that? And what have we learned from that as well?
Um, yeah, that's first thing I've learned from that is that we can pretty much accommodate any industry needed. I think I think any industry we can serve,
Right.
and it could be salon, it could be wellness, it can be corporate, it could be tech, it could be service oriented. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the amount of people that we've been able to help and touch
Mm-hmm.
and meet them where they're at is has been absolutely incredible. And the diversity has really helped to the environment that people find themselves in.
Right.
And because it's not just a bunch of techies in the same building, and it's only the tech industry that are net with each other, right? And they're all doing different versions of tech, but at the end of the day, it's tech,
Exactly.
And I mean, we're literally hitting. We have psychologists, we have lawyers, we have CPAs, we have media guys, we have podcasters, we have security companies, we have surgical companies, medical device companies,
Right.
franchising companies.
Yeah.
I could go on and on with the
Yeah.
amount of people that we have, and it's
Something though it has shown us, I think, is the need to differentiate maybe some zones and areas and in future is we'll have a kids area that would be more for kids treatments and areas that we have speech therapists, we have child psychologists, we have different areas, tutors, a different kind that would be more for their zone, so that it could be more catered to their needs specifically. Also, while keeping the corporate areas in a more quiet zone areas what they are, quiet zones, so that there's no interference or any problem in between. I think we definitely have learned that there are industries that need specialties. And there are some parts of that that in our future builds will be specializing on, for example, media, that we'll do some more enhancements in that area so that they can specifically have more elements of their industry and their needs
Or yeah, like people
accommodated for.
in the wellness industry that are massage therapists, estheticians, waxing, things of that nature, work service oriented stuff, um,
Mm-hmm.
enhancing their experience and their clients' experience when they come, and adding
Exactly.
ways to do that in a way that makes it possible, and is improving what we have already. Because we kind of had, when we built this building, we kind of had an idea of, okay, this will be the general flow of it. There shouldn't be too much issue or anything like that. And for the most part, we've been right, but it's a matter of how do we enhance it that little bit more? How do we make it better? How do we how do we grow from the next one? And
Exactly.
it's there's been a lot of things that we've learned about different industries and how they interact with their customers, how what they do, what's important to them, um,
Precisely.
and also the common thread things that are important to a lot of people, and having ability to have privacy is was something we
Definitely.
predicted and we kind of built to that need, but there's aspects of the privacy that we can enhance going forward,
Mm-hmm.
and make better. So I think there's a lot um, that we've learned from our members
Mm-hmm.
and the small things that help their experience, the things that we can keep doing that we
Right.
know work because we've seen good results, we've seen good feedback from it, just
Exactly.
interacting with members and stuff like that. So I think with that, there's always going to be more to learn when we build the next one, and we're learning from those improvements and enhancements and stuff.
Absolutely.
So
And we have some industries that has come to our attention that we would like to service that we couldn't do it necessarily in an office setting. It's not their type of work and their type of business, but there are needs there that are something that we're going to address in other industries that we would like to build facilities that is more in tune with those industries and their needs. And I don't want to say them what they are because we kind of have other things we want to put out in before we say in our podcast what we're developing, what we're working on next. But we are definitely looking at other industries and business types that have special needs and how we can accommodate them in a co-working environment and make it conducive for them as well. There's some great things to come with that. We have some really extraordinary thought provoking and creative thinkers involved in this that we've been putting together our minds and putting a plan of how that would look and what that would be like.
so another question we got was how have we evolved the private office experience and the common space area experience, such as your co-working, dedicated desk memberships, um, from day one till now, about a year and a half into it. And I think I would say one is it's helped us devolve the idea of what we would want private offices to be in the future
Mm-hmm.
and kind of be more of set up like a hotel. The idea that it's completely plug and play, that the office is completely designed for you when you walk in and you pick that office based off the design that you'd like,
Right.
right? Or maybe even like a hotel where different brands are different styles, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's all pre-designed, but there's a lot of different ways we can go with that.
I think that's part of that is the public spaces that we have here. We spent time to make sure they were comfortable, they were aesthetically pleasing. People can film there if they wanted to, but they can also feel very comfortable sitting there. And so, either way, and part of that has evolved into some of the offices where we staged some of the offices before they were occupied to give people an idea and a feel for what it would look like or could look like. And surprisingly, people wanted, as you said, that plug and play. It's like, can I have this office? I'll pay extra just to have these things and to do this decorated this way because I like it. And that part really drove home the fact that people want something that feels good, but they don't have to think too hard about, and it's already ready for them to just put their computer down and just get to work. And that is something we're working with it doing more so in the future as well. We've been working for a long time now with little accessories and ideas of offering that as part of a a add-on purchase that you could do if you want to do it for yourself. But what we found is that people would rather have it just pay for it and do it for me, and I'll be happy to pay for it in my monthly membership rather than going out and sourcing it for themselves or making the purchase.
Yeah, and I think something that we had a lot of the common area space. Not a lot, I should say. There were certain parts of the common area space that we didn't really want to decide what it would be before we opened. We wanted to let it decide itself what it would be and
Mm-hmm.
what made the most sense for that. A good example is our larger phone booths that
Right.
we kind of had ideas and what we thought it would be,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't. We kind of just left it, and we said,
Let it
"Let's
breathe a little
let
bit,
it
and
breathe."
yeah.
Exactly, and it turned out to be kind of within the realm of what we were thinking, but there's a lot of differences that we thought that we didn't think of until we just
Mm-hmm.
let it happen. And I think one thing would be the fact that they're open
Right. They don't have
and
doors
they
on
don't have
them.
doors, right?
Yeah.
And so
But we find people in those booths every day and they're filled. And that's awesome because, and it rotates. It's not always the same person who's monopolizing it. It changes and evolves. And you'll see there'll be 5 different people in the same day using that same booth. But it gives people a different sense of where they can work, or have a small, quick meeting. And that part we've enjoyed very much because it makes it very changeable, in atmosphere, and you never feel bored because you can go different places in the building and do your work, whether it's out on the patio, if it's a nice day out, or in the phone booth, and having a quick meeting with someone across from you. Or maybe you go and you're working in an open area, even though you have your own office. You just needed a change of pace in somewhere else that looks different than your own 4 walls.
exactly, and I mean, just adding different details in common area spaces has changed spaces a lot. I mean, one of I think the best examples of that is the kitchen and the
Mm-hmm.
furniture that ended up in the kitchen
Yeah,
that we never or cafe space area we never thought would end up there when
right.
we initially designed everything. It wasn't even in our thought process of
Right.
what we would
We
do.
brought furniture in that area for an event one day, and people were so happy with it. They said, "You're leaving this, right? You're not moving it anywhere else." And we went, "Okay, yeah, we could leave it." And it was a surprise to us because we really didn't expect that they were going to enjoy having it there. But the number of impromptu meetings that you see happening and people sitting there, it just warms the heart because it makes you feel like, yes, that was a good decision. That was really something needed, but also it was on demand by our members and our people telling us, this is great. We like this. So,
And it was a
know,
very serendipitous thing. I mean,
right.
it was just kind of temporary thing. We need to do it for an
Mm-hmm.
event, kind of set an ambiance, and
Mm-hmm.
from there, people just, like you said, loved it. And I think that's the value of letting stuff breathe, is letting serendipitous happen.
Right.
Having that, allowing for that opportunity to exist,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
and
Like our collaboration area, we had it set up as booths and more like, different sets of places where it was segregated. And now we've opened it so that the booths are all open facing each other and it's more of an open room. But you still feel private, but at the same time, it's all encompassing. So if you want to have a larger networking meeting in that room, you can, and it feels good. Or if you want to have just a private meeting between a couple of people, you can. It's not total privacy, obviously, but it is still comfortable. It doesn't feel like you're intrusive on someone else. So yeah, definitely it's been nice to see the areas evolve. We had the gym set up in one way, and at some point we changed it up and made it a little different. And people have enjoyed seeing that change in the feel of how it made the space flow a little bit better for them. Personal trainers have had some input also, and have enjoyed speaking with them and getting their responses back from their clients as well.
yeah, and it's given us a lot of ideas for moving forward in new spaces and kind of
Definitely.
like what's important to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one is the ability to have impromptuness, like that ability for just having uh it can also be impromptu. It could also be just sitting on your phone and scrolling through emails while you're having a cup of coffee in between tasks and whatnot. And just having a nice little comfy area to do that. Or just be
Mm-hmm.
on your phone and just take a phone call, you know?
Exactly.
So I think it's those little things are extremely important, and I think it's going forward. some of the stuff that we've learned along the way will be staples that
Hmm.
we do, we know works, and it can be tweaked and improved, obviously, but the core of it is there's aspects that we've learned just by letting stuff breathe that
Hmm.
it's because people want it, demand is there.
Exactly.
It's the time old lesson of supply and demand.
So, one of the questions we've gotten is how have we seen the spaces that we have evolve and change? And how have we had some spaces that weren't intended for one purpose change? Uh, and where that comes from is we had a couple of different places where we found we had a need for meeting rooms more than what we had. And we decided to convert one office into a meeting room. And it turned out to be one of the most popular meeting rooms that's booked on a regular basis. That was very much a on-demand client need that showed us we can adapt and change. And that's one of the beauties of it is that this space is flexible all by itself. And the fact that it's flexible for the members to scale up or scale down, but it's also flexible for what the needs are of the people in the community in the building to say, hey, we need more meeting rooms, or hey, we need more XYZ, whatever that is at that moment. And we can say, all right, let's see if we can make that happen and adapt to it.
Exactly. And the photo studio and podcast studio has been used in a lot of different ways that I just as a person that's not in that realm, I'm surprised to see how they've been used. The amount of content that's been created in that room, but looks so different from each other,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of is one thing that kind of like shocks me
Right. Yeah.
in that sense.
Someone change up the lighting or something in the photo studio and it looks like in a completely different room. They pull a background down or they add some props into it and you're like, wow, that's amazing how that can be used and so versatile in all the different aspects of it.
Exactly. And like the podcast studio,
Mm-hmm.
the one we're sitting in. I mean, the amount of
Right.
podcasts that have been shot in here, whether they're video, audio, it's the ability for this space to be the same but used versatilely.
Exactly.
And I mean, we've even had the podcast studio just used as a typical meeting room
Yeah.
where people just like the room. They like the ambience of the podcast studio. They just want to have a meeting in here because it has that coziness. It has that niceness to it. But yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
the photo studio has been pretty standard in who uses it in the sense of you have your photographers, your video content creators, commercials, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the way those have been shot has been, I would say, the difference maker, more or less.
And I think also the fact that we've had other places been used as media production that we would never have thought of was going to be a media production space, whether it's the grand staircase or the east wing downstairs in a more of a nature type of feel. People are using each and every corner that they find that is advantageous to them and making it better. I love the suggestions that come back. We have a larger room that we had a large team meeting, and we had another room that was booked, and it had a larger team meeting already booked at it. And we make converted it into a meeting room and went, okay, yep, we can do this. We can accommodate 30 people in here for a meeting. We'll make it happen. And we did. And that's the things that makes it good that you can make things possible for people, and we're willing to do that in just a little bit of time is all we need, and we can rearrange things and make it comfortable so that you never would have known that was not a meeting room to start with. It just felt like it was always.
Exactly. And yeah, it's been the ability to turn spaces that again we never really thought would be meeting spaces or um, content spaces to just let it breathe. The power of letting it breathe and just letting things happen as they happen has been a powerful tool for us, and just being in tune with listening to it and being open to those suggestions and those needs. It's we've seen a lot of benefit from that, and I think it's also kind of testament to what I think the industry needs to do, and as a whole, is just listen.
Hmm.
So yeah, so one of the questions we got was, so how has the different events that we've gotten throughout the first year, what has been some successes, would have been some failures, would have been some lessons.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, we've had plenty of that. I mean, one that sticks out to me is the photo shoot we had event, and they were saying, yeah, we're just gonna have a photo shoot, and we want to use different parts of the building for a photo shoot, and all
We
of a
said,
sudden,
sure, no
yeah, we
problem.
said, sure,
Because
no
we were getting
problem.
used to
Yeah,
having
because
photo shoots throughout the building. That was
yeah,
okay.
and that we didn't have a problem with that. That was fine. But I guess what was undisclosed to us was that
You turn your head for five
turn,
minutes and
yeah,
there's a half naked woman on a table, and you're like, what's going on?
exactly, and they were clothed, but I mean they were see-through clothes to some degree, and
Right.
having very artsy photo shoot. So and standing on tables, and that was kind of something we had to quickly
Scale them
intervene
back. Yes.
and kind of say let's do it behind closed doors or in the photo studio, but like um kind of remember that we are an office space, and this is kind of also where there is kids around to some degree, and that's not acceptable. So
Exactly.
I
That was an interesting moment.
that's one that kind of sticks out.
We've
Um,
had, yeah, I thought we were going to have a failure event where we had a wine night. I think it was. It wasn't whiskey. It was a wine night. And there was no one that showed up. And then 10 minutes later, all of a sudden we had 30 people. And I went, where did everyone come from? And it was just one of those moments that you think of, just like you're hosting a party and like, oh no, no one's coming. And then they all show. And it was funny because it turned out to be a really good event and a lot of fun. And sometimes those more quiet, intimate moments, we've had a few of those where you think, oh, the turnout may not be so great. You know, it's a bad weather night or it's a school event night or something like that. And it actually turns out that those interactions where you have a smaller attendance tend to be more meaningful and quality than the larger ones are. So those I don't mind at all at this point because it really does speak to the people that we have in our environment around us in the community and the membership. They really do enjoy being here and being with each other and being able to introduce each other to different new people is a good part of the fun for us. It's always interesting to see someone's face light up when they find they have a common interest or some other aspect of their business that relates to someone else and they can share that with each other. So those are some, and then some of our larger events, and we had casino night and converting some of the rooms into casino. So that was a lot of fun too because you get to make the creative room into a poker room. You get to make the meeting room into a full casino, and everyone's dressed up and they're all enjoying themselves and seeing it as it can be a different environment. It doesn't have to be the same place you imagine it to be necessarily.
yeah, and I would say a big success of one of our events that we kind of blew us away was our grand opening party. I mean, that was something that
Mm.
I don't think any of us expected. It turned into basically like a block party to some degree.
It really did.
It was I think we had over like 500 people
Yep,
here,
we did.
and it was an absolute blessing. But it was something that was a major success, and we had fireworks, we had catering, food,
Food
entertainment.
trucks. We
Um,
had like seven different food trucks, I think
yeah,
it was,
and
and all different types of entertainment, and we had music. And it was enjoyable. And like you said, it was like a block party. It was, and then seeing people that come together and go, wow, this is where you work. And that was another inviting part of it is that it opens people's eyes that it doesn't have to be just an office building with desks and chairs. It can actually do other things.
exactly,
And
exactly. And that was important for us because we wanted to showcase that we're able to do events as well. Like events is something that we're able to
right.
do in our space and that we've planned for. And I think again going forward, having an event space center separate on its
Mm-hmm.
own, I think is something that we'll definitely think about
Yes,
and consider because that's a high need as well.
absolutely. One of the best blessings, and um, my husband has said this that he would really like to make this place a center for God and for church. And it's happened all by itself without us seeking it out necessarily. But in that we've had a church that now meets with us and since started is over a year old. They've been with us almost since the second month I think we were open. And it started as a small, just like the pastor and his family. And now there's about 35, 40 people that come on a regular basis for church. Now we not only have that, we have church group that meets on Tuesday night. We have a church group that meets on a Wednesday night. We have a church group that meets on a Thursday night. And they all occupy different rooms, all different churches. And now we have another church who'll be having a Sunday service here as well that will be taking on the grand staircase and video screen. So we really have shown that a co-working space doesn't have to be just a co-working space. We can host events, we can have a church, we can help people do and bring to fruition whatever their thought and their dream might have been that they would like to try to make happen. And that's been one of the best parts of it. And seeing all the ideas people have, whether it's a kid entrepreneur program that they want to have tables and show off the kids what they can do. We have this coming weekend, we have a spelling bee for kids coming in. So it's adults, it's kids, different events, different meet needs, whatever the case is. It's been really fun to help them bring those things up.
Yeah,
And
and just having member events too, I think has been a lot of fun as well. Having we had a um, paint and wine night, which was a lot of fun. We had we have whiskey night, we have wine night, alternating months. We have a book club.
right,
Um, we have holiday parties. We have socials, just to have socials and do something fun.
absolutely. Introduce new
Um,
people to each other.
yeah,
We have yoga class. We're going to be having a yoga outdoors when weather's turning. We've had a boot camp out on the turf as well. We've had car show in the parking lot. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that the space has been able to provide for the community at large, but also for our members. So that's been a lot of fun and seeing what the future will hold too, because I'm sure there will be many more ideas coming down and we'll see how we can make those come and happen.
so one of the questions we got asked was we get asked this quite often from a lot of different people just in passing. Is how do we do our marketing? What does our marketing look like? What does our outreach look like? And people are kind of stunned when I give them the answer of we did a lot of grassroots word of mouth community marketing
Hmm.
and being in the community, doing community events, talking to community leaders, and then also when we were in the building process, having a big banner out wrapped around our fence, kind of inviting people to understand what we're doing, and also doing hard hat tours when we were
Yeah.
building and getting the word out early on during construction rather than waiting to be fully completely done and then say, okay, we're going to start advertising now.
Definitely one of the things in the early process that was, and you have to understand in our industry, having a 40,000 square foot building that's all dedicated to co-working only is very unusual and definitely not something that people do on construction basis. And then you add in all the amenities and the extras to it. Most people that have any knowledge about commercial real estate thought we were absolutely insane. There's no way this is going to work in the suburbs. And you're doing what exactly? And you have how much of that is common area space and not dedicated to sellable space or leasable space? That's not going to work. So there's quite a few that do not believe in the model or what we do. So when we explained, when the follow up question would be, well, how are you going to market this? How are you going to do that? And then Pierre says, well, grassroots. Well, what do you mean by that? We're going to go and do community markets and we're going to have a tent and we're going to meet and greet people and talk to them about our building. Well, then you get laughed at because people don't foresee that as in any way going to be sellable. But the fact of it is, we did this. We did the, we used the clubhouse at the community. We had monthly meet and greets, and we would tell people about what we are and who we are. We would go to networking groups around the area. We would tell them we're coming along and what we do. We met with a lot of different associations and different community leaders, let them know about us as well. And all of those grassroots efforts, when you put it together, starts getting a little buzz around the community and people talking to each other. And as Pierre mentioned, having that banner around your construction site, and as they see the construction going, then the curiosity. And people who might need an office are going to come in and they say, oh, wow, okay, I get it. And those early adopters, we call them our founding members, they really bought into what our concept was from day one. And are like, sign me up. I'm in. We had someone from literally the first day the fence wrap was up to contact us, and they were our first member. They've also been our first 4&Co pregnancy and baby born into the company as well. Those things are fun for us because you see the evolution of time as things happen and what our efforts are till today. I mean, I think 2 days ago, we had someone walk in and said, I drive by this building every single day and I just had to come in and ask what it is. What do you do here? It looks so cool, but I don't know what you do. And that was interesting. And we start laughing because the building itself does not look like a standard office building. So by itself, it gives a little bit of a different look and feel to it. So it does leave people confused maybe of it goes on here. And then when they come in and like, well, wait a minute, I need an office. That's what you do? Like, yeah. So we give the gentleman a tour and sure enough, he signed up and got an office with us. And that's the fun parts of how we do. So the marketing part, as Pierre will expand more.
Yeah, and then also we obviously we use social media as one of our avenues of marketing, but it's also very different than because also commercial real estate people.
Bidet commercials aren't
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, bidet commercials aren't necessarily what's standard in the commercial real estate advertising realm of marketing and practices. So when we get pitched an idea of we should do a skit about how awesome our bidets are, we're more inclined to say yes than no, just because it's
It is
it
a talking
brings
point.
it is a talking point more or less. I mean, it's not what sells people, but it definitely keeps people coming back. It looks like for a lot of different reasons. And
The number of tours we've given, and they said, "Can I use a restroom?" Like, sure. And so if we happen to be in a restroom,
especially the second floor ones, it's because we have the Toto ones on the second floor. The toilet lid automatically opens as soon as you walk in through the door, and people are just absolutely just shell shocked, but like bamboozled of that's even a thing that exists, and that
the fun ones are when you have a group of people, you have 4 or 5 people, and they're coming in as a corporate company together, and they're just kind of investigating and see. And they're usually more, we call them corporate types. They just aren't the individual solopreneurs. They are more inclined to think like a company rather than an individual.
they're used to very corporate buildings and
Yes.
blandness and
So that one
basic.
will go in and they're like, you got to go in there. And they encourage everyone in the group then to go into the bathroom. And everyone comes out going, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Yeah, and the commercial itself and the skit itself is personally one of my favorite skits we've probably done to date. I mean, and that says a lot because we have some good ones in the pipeline that we've done. But I would really say like having that ability to do that is a lot of fun, and it makes it for me more enjoyable, and it means more than advertising the specs of a building because
Definitely.
it's a different way of advertising the specs of a building,
Yeah.
and it's it makes me feel bad for commercial real estate owners that have to use like CBRE and stuff like that, and they could have the coolest building ever, but they're it's being marketed by somebody that is just trying to get a deal done,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And not really getting the best tenant maybe, or not getting the what you need or what you wanted or stuff like that. And I think the way we've gone about advertising and marketing has been a lot more effective in my opinion, because you're getting the quality of members we have is something it's an unbelievable blessing. The quality of our members are up or above anybody else in my opinion. I mean, our clientele is some of the kindest, greatest, most generous people and thoughtful people you'll ever come across. I mean, the
That's 100% true. And it's so nice to see when you're in a group of people, you feel like you're in a large family and everyone works together in their, they do their own thing. They go break off in their offices and then you see them come by, but you don't see them afraid to interact with each other or just kind of hovering near the doorway or the wall. And they don't want to have that communication with another person. We usually try to break that ice barrier to start with in the beginning with new people so that they start feeling comfortable in their own workplace and they say it's okay. But then you start seeing people having conversations on their own in a cafe or in a hallway or something. And it's nice to know that they are actually starting to build their own relationships and their own sense of community within the building itself.
Exactly. And it's cool to see the power groups of people that are doing referrals of business to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that they've kind of created their own little circle of people and whatnot in the building has been really cool to see. And a lot of another way of marketing is referrals.
Yeah.
We get the amount of referrals we get from members to they tell their friends, family,
Mm-hmm.
customers, clients, stuff like that. I mean, it's been incredible. I couldn't have asked for a better resource of marketing.
Yeah. But it doesn't hurt that we have a really good marketing company that does our videos for us
That too.
too.
That too.
And we have a lot of fun. A little shout out to Paper Jacket Marketing because they really have been instrumental in being part and listening to us what our thoughts are and not doing the standard necessarily of what you would expect in a company and being just authentically us, the way we want to be and the way we want to come across. It's been important to us and they've respected that and helped us do that. And it's not always orthodox in the methods. So we'll continue to have push the envelope and have more fun with it as well.
Definitely.
One of the questions that we've got is what have we personally learned from our members? And there is so much that I could say about that. So I'm going to have to quantify it a little bit. I think one of the most important ways I could express that is that the true value of being sincere and authentic of who you are is really appreciated with people. And it brings honesty and a certain level of intimacy of and you feel like you are a part of people's day-to-day family. You don't feel like you're just in a workplace with them. So we hear stories and we were able to problem solve with them and help them whether it's a couple issue or it's wanting to have a baby and not being able to or having some issues or just having a baby and not knowing what's going on and it's their first one or it's a business question and you're trying to grow your business and you're kind of struggling or having an issue with it at the moment and you just need a little walkthrough and some problem solving. There's been a lot I've learned from people and how to help them. They've helped me just as much. And it's very fulfilling in that process. So for me, that kind of summarizes it in total. How
Yeah.
about you?
I mean, one thing I've learned definitely is that the need for human connection is more than ever. And it's it could be just simple as smiling and saying hi, and just recognizing somebody in the hallway. It's that has been very evident to me in a lot of ways. And then I would say another thing that I've learned from our members is that what we provide for them is valuable. And
Mhm.
I that's always was the most important thing for me when we created this is, are we really creating value, or are we trying to mislead them to think it's valuable? You know?
Right.
And I was very adamant that I wanted to provide intangible value. Like
Exactly.
valuable that's not just tangible. It's we're saving you your time, commute time, and that time gets to be used somewhere else, whether it's with your family, working on your business, being able to have more free time,
Mm-hmm.
um, whatever that may be, is really n- learning and understanding what is valuable and what makes what we've done valuable, and how do we expand on that, and having those conversations with people of different ways to improve, different ways to do things, and kind of getting their opinion on their experience in the building and
Mm-hmm.
how it's helped them, and things that they've come across from their viewpoint. Because I mean, being an owner and operator is a very different perspective than being a member and user of the space. No
Absolutely.
matter how hard we try to put that hat on in that perspective, I mean, we'll always have that bias. So
Right.
having that ability to have people that are willing to give us their honest feedback on stuff, and ability to really put their finger on it and elaborate it on it, has been something that I think has been extremely valuable in being able to learn about people and kind of learn about who they are and what's important to them, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the common thread between people. And it's not just important just to one person,
Sure.
it's important to a group of people.
So one of the questions that's asked us is how has the what has happened in the last year affected us as a family? And I think that is an integral part. During the planning stage of this building, we probably had more family fights than we've ever had in our life together. And we were at knockdown, drag out, opposite ends of thought process between us. And because we're a family of four making decisions, probably should have had odd numbers. It would have been better. We had to convince each other because if we got tied and deadlocked at 2-2, then that meant that we had to get one person at least convinced to why that was a better thought or look or whatever it was. So there were times that it could have been just about a design or a color in a room, or it could have been about a process that we were talking about and what we wanted to do. So that was very difficult in the planning and stage of it. We encountered a lot of construction issues. Being post COVID, as you can imagine, there was a lot of things that happened along that time. So we had struggles. We were 6 months behind in being able to open, totally out of our control, and we couldn't do anything about it. We had made promises to people that we were going to be open, and we had to keep delaying and delaying and delaying, and it was infuriating. And we were so upset for our people because these are their livelihood and they're depending on us to open. So that made us also on edge and nervous and at odds with each other. And then we got into being open and letting people be able to come in, facing construction woes of things not done right or had to be repaired, having construction lender issues with the banking and financing of it, which kind of put us into a tailspin and struggling financially unexpectedly. And for us, this year brought us really a lot closer together and really made us more cohesive and as a team. It brought out some of the raw points as a family that you go through as a family. You explore and normal, but when you work together and you live together 24/7, you have nowhere to hide. So you have to face those issues, whatever they are, and really take them on head on. And that can be difficult, to say the least. But for us, it really did help tremendously to be able to have that openness. And you have to trust that the other people in your family are going to be able to listen and to hear what your opinion is or your say is. And you have to do the same and know when it's time to compromise and know when it's you need to adjust and give someone in room in the family. And no one gets to be right all the time. We all have to take turns and take a back seat also.
Yeah, definitely. And I personally think it's helped us, again, I think overall it's brought us a lot closer than we were before all this, and helped us work on communicating with each other in a lot of ways, and
Hmm.
communicating with other people, because
Yeah.
that ability to be able to communicate both with your family and other people is something I would say most people fail miserably at one or the other, more or less. And it's kind of hard to find a balance to do both and whatnot, and not let whatever your problems with your family leak into other people and vice versa.
Right. Are you being sincere? Or are you hitting the surface only? Or are you going into the depths and into
Yeah,
the
because
weeds of
it's
things?
it's it's like, well, when we're in the middle of having a family argument in the middle of a work day, and then you have to switch on right away to go talk to a member and not let that bother you,
Right.
and
Right.
it, and that's just the nature of it, whether it's healthy or right or wrong. I mean, that's kind of, I would say, not relevant, but it's just what happens.
Right.
And anybody that has worked in a family business or in a family structure kind of understands that, I mean, you still have to live your personal life as well.
Right.
And
And at times you have to put that on pause while you take care of
exactly.
the customer and the client and what their needs are for that moment. And then you can go back to being the family and having your disagreement with each other and working it out.
Exactly. And I think a lot of it too has been a lot of growth and ability to have that humility and cohesiveness
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, and being able to. And what's interesting too is that we started this business together. It's not
Right.
where Rami and I inherited a business and are working
Yeah.
and learning the ropes. No, we all kind of started at ground zero together,
Right.
and which is again very uncommon when you talk about family businesses. I mean, a lot of the times it's the couple or
Yeah.
one of them starting their business and then over time hiring more and more of the family. Where out the gate we started this as a family, and we started this operating the four of us, and I think it helped shape the cohesiveness and the attitude towards what we bring towards it every day. And it really it really helped allow us to have a good battle ring for ideas, because it
Yes.
really brought down the barriers for, well, I don't want that person to think differently of me, or I don't want them to
Mm-hmm.
shoot me down, or this or that. And it really allowed the best ideas to come to the top and be
Absolutely.
proposed as well, and some of the worst ideas be proposed as well, because
Yeah.
it's not just a safe space, like your job isn't on the line,
Right.
more or less, if you have a bad idea, because at the end of the day, I mean, might be my day to have a bad idea and the next day it's your time to have a bad idea,
Right. Yeah.
and
You get to really field out the good and the bad all at one time and get sincere, good answers, because none of us are afraid to say, "Oh, that's terrible. What are you thinking?"
say it in the most like in a way that you would never say it to
A
a
coworker.
coworker or
Right.
your boss or your
Yeah.
higher ups, because and you're afraid of being authentically you, you
Right.
know and obviously there's having that respect and like boundaries and whatnot, but with family it's there's more leeway, there's more
Right.
ability, there's more encouragement to be who you are, and
Yeah.
the people you're working with know who you are, you know or
Exactly.
they at least know you a version
Yeah.
of you very intimately.
Right. And there's no fear of saying the truth of like, I don't think that's a good idea at all, and this is the reason why.
Yeah,
And you can say so fully. But it also brings better ideas up, because that what you thought was a bad idea is maybe it's not a bad idea. It just needs to get tweaked a little bit. It needs to get modified, and then go, oh wait, you know what? I see the value of that. That actually could work if we do this instead.
yeah,
And you give it a different spin to it, and all of a sudden it morphs into something that's now something from all of us, not just one person alone anymore. And that's and also giving each other the grace to, if you've come up with something that just isn't good, or you've said something that just isn't going to do well, that you can give each other forgiveness in those things and let each other do what you got to do.
yeah. and
Um,
I think also too it's helped us understand each other more, because it's allowed us to understand each other, not just no longer in the home.
right.
We understand each other at work now, and
Mhm.
what that person was going through through that day and each day,
Right.
and so it allows a lot more grace to happen, and a lot more ability to be understanding,
Yes.
you know, than you're only knowing them when they come home and they're in a bad attitude, and
Right.
you're annoyed because they're in a bad
Right.
attitude and they're just having a moment, and you're not having context to understand that. But
Bad
when
side of it is, if you have a disagreement, it may carry a little longer because you do live with that person and you're carrying it home, because you can't quite separate that home from work atmosphere.
yeah,
And you care so deeply about whatever the topic is that it makes it more relevant in all times, not just in one part of your life only. But you come through it, and you work through whatever that is, and it may take a day longer than it might not have, but it's all good, because in the end it brings a stronger family, it brings a better team that works together and is able to problem solve and to do something better for the entire community of 4&Co.
exactly. And I think it almost feels like this is how it should be and how it was. This
Hmm.
is how when families work together. It was you had a healthier family nucleus, and a
Right.
healthier way of interacting with your family,
Right.
you know. And you may have not worked, and some people may work for their family business for a little bit and then realize that's not for them, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But at least they had that experience, and they worked with their family at least once. And I guess also seeing your family members when they're at work gives you a different perspective on who they are, because
Mm-hmm.
of seeing who that person is, and when they're in different scenarios,
Right.
different kinds of pressure, different kinds of
Yep.
settings and stuff like that they typically aren't privy to because of
You only see in
See, only-
one dimension of
exactly.
that person.
And you get a more full picture of your other family members.
Mhm.
Whereas where most people, I think, have an idea of who they think their family member is, but they don't have the full picture of necessarily who they are in different scenarios and settings.
Right. Very much so.
So I think that's a wrap on our Q&A, and we'll I'm going to look out for more questions, and looking forward to do this again.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for today.